The laziest zodiac signs. Laziness is not a weakness, but an ancient defense of the soul from meaningless movement. Each zodiac sign has its own shadow side, but in some it is especially pronounced. These signs know how to put off action until the last minute, masterfully avoid pressure, and find thousands of reasons to start on Monday. But look deeper, and you will understand. Behind their lazy appearance lies a special energy. Yes, they can lie on the couch for days, but once they get going, they move mountains. Why does this happen? Which zodiac signs are most often accused of laziness? And why might this not be a disadvantage, but a hidden gift? Now you will find out the truth, without beating around the bush. If you want to continue receiving honest and deep astrological analyses, subscribe right now. This channel was created so that you could see the essence, not illusions. And write in the comments, did you recognize yourself or someone you know? Let's check how accurate the power of the signs is. We are starting to analyze the laziest zodiac signs, and some names on this list will surprise you. The first sign is Gemini. Gemini's laziness is not in inaction, but in the refusal to finish what they started. Representatives of this sign can easily take on a dozen tasks at once, enthusiastically put them on the shelves, promise everyone everything at once, but halfway through, there comes a moment when the internal motor stops. The reason is simple. It became boring. Geminis become lazy when the element of novelty is lost. They are not interested in repeating the same actions, doing routine, delving into depth. Their laziness is a protest against the ordinary. They are great at pretending to be busy. Their day can be filled with meetings, calls, ideas. But if you look closely, this often hides a desire not to do anything really important. They can spend hours discussing plans, generating concepts, describing details, but only as long as it excites their imagination. As soon as the project becomes demanding, requires concentration and discipline, the enthusiasm disappears. They switch to something new, leaving everything else in limbo. A special form of Gemini laziness is informational. They are able to read, watch, listen all day long without moving to action. It seems to them that they are in the process, that they are collecting data, preparing. But in fact, this is sophisticated procrastination disguised as curiosity. They are able to study the nuances for weeks without taking real steps. The mind works at high speed, and the body remains at rest. Energy is spent on conversations, correspondence, discussions, and all this without a specific result. Gemini laziness is not passive, it is active, lively, mobile. But this is precisely where its special danger lies. It does not allow you to feel lazy. On the contrary, it creates the illusion of being busy. They know how to captivate both themselves and others with the appearance of work. They can be in the thick of things, participate in projects, demonstrate interest, but not fulfill real obligations. And often they themselves do not notice how much is wasted. Social laziness is also characteristic of Geminis. They do not always want to build deep relationships. Superficial communication is enough. It is difficult for them to be with one person for a long time, because it requires emotional effort. It is easier for them to change their social circle than to work on a conflict. It is easier for them to disappear than to explain. This laziness is not in the body, it is in emotional economy. They intuitively avoid difficulties where you need to invest your soul. Physically, Geminis can be active. They tend to walk quickly, gesticulate, travel, be in motion. But if the task requires rhythmic, monotonous work, They begin to drag out, postpone, take breaks. Their inner world requires constant stimulation, and everything that is devoid of an element of surprise quickly becomes a source of fatigue and irritation. They rarely admit their laziness. They prefer to call it freedom-loving, flexible, multifunctional. They don't want to see themselves as disorganized. But the truth is that discipline is not their strong point. It is difficult for them to follow a clear plan, to obey a regime, to finish what they started. They promise easily and forget either just as easily. And not because they don't want to, but because laziness interferes at every moment where concentration is required. At work, they need clear external control or an inspiring partner. Otherwise, they simply cannot maintain focus. Their brain jumps from topic to topic, and tasks remain hanging in the air. In their free time, they can easily fall into TV series, games, endless news feeds. Not because they have nothing to do, but because they cannot force themselves to concentrate. Nevertheless, Geminis are not hopeless. Their strength is in flexibility. If they learn to manage their attention and limit the flow of irritants, they can overcome internal laziness. But this requires effort, which they rarely make. After all, it is much easier to get carried away by a new topic than to finish what you started. That is why Geminis often end up on the list of the laziest. Their laziness does not lie on the surface. It lives in chaos, in jumping, in inconstancy. And it is defeated only when they themselves acknowledge its existence. The second sign is Capricorn. To others, he may seem like a workaholic, but inside Capricorn, there often lives a powerful resistance to action. He will not do extra for the sake of praise, or for approval, or even for money. Capricorn chooses only what gives a measurable result, and everything else automatically falls into the category of waste of time. His laziness is not passivity, but a carefully built filtration system. If the matter does not bring long-term benefits or does not have a clear meaning, he will not spend a minute on it. This is not fatigue, not apathy, and not procrastination. This is a conscious choice. Capricorn can put off going to the doctor for weeks, ignore calls, not answer letters, if he does not consider it vital. He can sit in the same position endlessly if no one demands activity from him, and only very rare stimuli are able to turn on the engine in him. A special style of internal refusal lives in this sign. He simply decides not to do, and does exactly this: nothing. Sometimes his laziness turns into the art of invisibility. He knows how to disappear from obligations without explaining the reasons. He just doesn't show up where they expect him. He just doesn't turn on his phone. He just stops participating. But Capricorn's laziness is especially evident in everyday life. He may not wash the dishes for weeks if he lives alone. He may forget to water the flowers or leave things on the floor. Even with all his strictness and organization, if he doesn't consider order a priority, he will live in chaos and won't notice it, because his energy is focused only on those tasks that pass an internal check. The rest is ballast. He may seem busy, but all he does is an imitation of being busy. If deep down he doesn't have inner consent for this activity. He is a master at creating the illusion of being efficient while avoiding real involvement, and his calmness in this is mesmerizing. He will not make excuses. He will not explain why he didn't do it. He just didn't do it. And that's it. In a relationship, Capricorn can be emotionally lazy. He will not be the first to write, call, or maintain a dialogue. If he is not pulled by the hand, he dissolves. His partner must be patient, because the manifestation of feelings in Capricorn requires effort, and he puts effort only into those things where he considers it necessary. Love for him is a project that must justify itself, and if he does not see the point in this, he will not do anything at all. In his career, he can move in fits and starts. His activity works on the principle of accumulating tension. Until external necessity presses, he will not move. He can sit for years in one place, even if he is not satisfied, simply because to change means to act, and to act means to strain. And he is too lazy to strain. Only external pressure, a threat, or a specific goal can move him from a dead point. But at the same time, it is worth recognizing Capricorn's laziness is strategic. He doesn't do it because he knows he doesn't have to. He doesn't rush forward because he understands that the finish line is still far away. He saves himself. And even if it seems from the outside that he's wasting time, this is his way of living. Everything is calculated. Everything is according to plan. And in this plan, there is a large section where it says, rest, postpone, do nothing. He knows how to slowly drag out time, postpone decisions, postpone movements, postpone everything. And in this skill, he becomes a champion. He doesn't worry that someone manages to do more. He is not gnawed by envy of the active. He knows how to wait. Because he knows that sooner or later, he will still achieve his goal, without fuss, without haste, without strain. Because his laziness is not a weakness, but a system. The third sign is Cancer. He has a gift to skillfully avoid effort if there is no spiritual need for it. Cancer will not do anything just like that. If a task does not resonate inside, it seems to dissolve into thin air. He can stare into space for hours, knowing that he needs to do dozens of things. He will slowly drink tea, scroll through the same photos on his phone, just to not leave a state of rest. Laziness for Cancer is not a defect. It is a form of protection. The more stress in life, the more he goes into inertia. In everyday life, Cancer can be surprisingly inactive. He is able not to change a light bulb for months if the light comes from the neighboring one. He is able to put off cleaning because the mood has not come yet. He can eat the same thing for weeks because he is too lazy to think of what to cook. His home is a reflection of his inner state. If there is anxiety in his soul, the disorder in the apartment grows. And he is not too lazy to clean, he just does not have time for it. He will work only when he feels safe. As soon as the situation becomes hostile or unclear, he closes up. Everything becomes unimportant. Deadlines lose meaning, he loses motivation, and returns to his comfort zone, where he can just go with the flow. If the boss doesn't remind, Cancer can forget about the task. If the client doesn't write, Cancer won't answer. If the project doesn't require emotions, Cancer will forget its existence. His emotional laziness is a separate universe. He won't discuss a conflict if he feels he's not ready. He won't call first because he's scared. He won't impose himself, even if he's bored. He's too lazy to experience painful emotions and chooses avoidance. Sometimes his relationships collapse, not because of real problems, but because he didn't want to get up and say something. Not because he didn't love, but because he was tired and was too lazy to start all over again. Cancer can go for weeks without answering important emails, without contacting friends, without paying bills. Not because it can't, but because at that moment, its survival system chooses inaction. This is laziness as a shield, as a form of energy conservation. It doesn't run because it doesn't know where. It doesn't act because it isn't sure that action won't cause harm. A special feature is its ability to delay decisions. It can live with the same problem for years because it doesn't want to deal with it, not because it doesn't know how. Cancer knows how. It just doesn't want to, because every movement requires internal consent, and this consent doesn't come on schedule. Cancer works from the heart. If the heart hasn't turned on, no deadlines will help. And despite all this, Cancer knows how to be productive, but only when it has chosen the moment itself, when it has understood why, when it has felt that now is the time. And in these rare periods, it can do in a day what others do in a month. But then, another pause, again laziness, again retreat. And this is his cycle. He lives in it, and he is not going to change it. The fourth sign of Pisces. Pisces' laziness is not superficial or obvious. It envelops like a fog, penetrating everyday actions and turning even the simplest tasks into thoughts of, is it necessary at all? Representatives of this sign can be in a state of full employment from morning to night, but at the same time not take a single concrete step forward. Their internal laziness is not a refusal to act, but a withdrawal from structures, pressure, obligations. Pisces are not lazy with their hands. They are lazy with their intention. They do not want to do anything that is not related to their inner mood. If the soul does not respond, no deadlines, promises, or even threats will make Pisces move. They can postpone important meetings, not answer messages, forget about calls, simply because they feel now is not the day. This form of laziness disguises itself as intuition and sensitivity, but in practice it leads to the fact that things accumulate, opportunities float away, and Pisces continue to lie in their thoughts, analyses, and emotions. The higher the stress level, the more passive they become. They don't rush to solve the problem. They fall silent, withdraw into themselves, and can disappear for several days. And this is their unique style of laziness. They seem to switch off from the world. They don't want to fight, to rush, to compete. Even if they understand that something needs to be done, they will wait for the right state, which may not come for weeks. The peculiarity of Pisces is that they are able to justify their inaction very convincingly. They will always find an explanation, from there was no inspiration to the universe hinted that now is not the time. And if someone tries to stir them up, they will encounter soft, polite, but impenetrable resistance. They can promise with a smile to fix everything and do nothing, and not out of spite, but because laziness has already merged with their perception of the world. At the same time, Pisces do not suffer from this trait. They are comfortable in their own rhythm. They do not feel guilty for putting off, forgetting, or not starting. Inner peace is important to them, and if activity disturbs it, they will choose peace, even if it costs them a missed chance. Their laziness is philosophical, almost aesthetic. It is not a protest, but a lifestyle where movement is replaced by observation and actions by dreams. Pisces is a sign that can live for weeks in a mode of waiting for the best moment. They are not lazy in the classical sense. They are simply not ready to act under duress. Their world is water, and water does not flow on schedule. And if they do not want to, they do not swim. They lie on the bottom and wait until they feel the flow again. Only then does the impulse to act appear. And if this impulse is not there, Pisces remain in their laziness, completely sincerely believing that everything is going as it should. The fifth sign is Aries. Aries' laziness is a paradox. There is a storm of energy inside him, a desire for action, a fiery impulse. But at the same time, he can be one of the laziest signs if the task does not coincide with his personal interest. Representatives of this sign work only on inspiration. Anything that goes beyond "I want" causes internal resistance in them. Aries cannot stand boring tasks, routine processes, obligations that have no drive. They can be incredibly active if it comes to competition, leadership, instant results. But if you offer them something that requires systematic work, patience, and gradual growth, their energy disappears. They begin to postpone, get irritated, look for excuses. And this is not a whim, but a natural feature. Aries cannot force himself to do something that does not burn inside. His laziness is not a weakness, but a lack of an exciting stimulus. They tend to put off small household chores, especially if they do not concern their personal benefit. Aries will not go to pay bills on time, will not regularly fill out reports, will not remember small responsibilities if he does not see an immediate benefit in it. His laziness is expressed in an irritated refusal. "It's not important. I'll do it later. I don't have time for this now." And as a result, a trail of unfinished business can drag behind him. Aries quickly burns out. He can start a project with enthusiasm, but if he does not see quick results, he loses interest. His laziness manifests itself as a sharp slowdown after takeoff. He does not leave, he simply stops investing. And no calls for discipline work, because Aries does not respond to pressure. He does only what he himself considers important. And if motivation disappears, laziness appears. The peculiarity of Aries' laziness is that it is covered by external activity. He may seem busy, say that he has a lot to do, but in fact he simply avoids boring tasks. He is a master of improvisation, and even in laziness, he can create the illusion of vigorous activity. But in fact, this is just a way to escape from routine duties that he considers meaningless. If Aries is not in a resource, he becomes passive, irritated, and uninitiative. He does not lie in bed. He walks in circles, complains, gets distracted, throws outbursts of anger, just to avoid doing what the outside world imposes. His laziness is always accompanied by internal protest. He does not want to be lazy. He wants to be free. But until the task coincides with his personal interest, he will refuse to act, no matter how important they are. Aries is an engine that runs only on high-octane fuel of desire. And if this fuel is not there, it simply stalls. His laziness is a form of resistance to obligations in which he does not see the point. Therefore, despite his fiery nature, he is one of the laziest signs when it comes to matters without emotions.